And we are live. Happy Thursday, Dr. Barth.
Happy Thursday to you, Eric.
I, as always, look forward to this evening. And tonight, we get to do some extra fun Conway beautiful drawings in Flutter shenanigans, correct?
I think that's a good goal, to get to drawing something beautiful on the screen.
We didn't really do a lot of drawing last time, did we?
No, we wrote tests. I think tests are good too.
To bring all of you up to speed who may be tuning in for the first time, we're in the middle of our second project here on episode 11, I think we are, where we're playing with Conway's Game of Life. And we built a model, a bit of a data model last week, and we're gonna actually draw to the screen and I think have some fun.
Yeah, I think where we left off last time is we had implemented the rules that take you from one game state to another, but I think they might have some bugs. So we may want to take some test cases from Wikipedia and see if we can fix our bugs.
Shall we jump into it?
Actually, before we do that, I actually sent us a couple of pull requests. So
what?
I think if we look at the GitHub, there might be some beautiful pull requests, or I think they're beautiful.
Oh my goodness. To the GitHub machine. Dun, dun, dun. Hold on. Turning on the screen. Oh. The technology is so hard. Okay, there we go. Whew. Saved. So we're going to go to the GitHub, the Rubber Duck Engineering GitHub project. Oh no, I'm not signed in. Well, I think we had this problem last time. I will go back to a different. I will go back to a different profile. While you do some juggling, maybe. I
was just going to say maybe Hal 9000 said hello in the chat. So hello, thanks for joining us again this week.
Hello, Hal 9000. Okay, that's better. This is last week's project. Oh my goodness, it's Hal 9000. Whoa, it lives.
It's a beautiful icon.
Hal 9000, for those who have not watched episode 9, contributed a pull request to add a Hal 9000 sound visualizer, which was amazing.
The light inside pulsated. It was beautiful.
So if we go to our GitHub, which tonight we're working from this project, if you want to follow along at home. And I could embiggen the font, Oh, if I remember the key commands, I can embiggen the font. Okay, so you told me we have some pull requests, and that is validated by the website. Where should we start?
I would start with the first one.
First one.
Oh,
okay.
The second one, I guess, in order. Pull request number 1, which is at the bottom of the list.
Pull request number 1. Pardon me, I have to look at my other monitor here. Okay, so yes, world state was where we, this was our little map for Conway. We had the ability to access X, Y, and that sort of thing. We spent a long time debugging that last time because we made errors. Previously, world state for H was using the wrong bounds for Y, yes, and did not work correctly for non-square worlds. Oh, how am I not surprised?
So I wrote this as a separate pull request just because you can take a look at the code, but because it's a very small bug and just want to make it a self-contained change. Also, last time I feel like I insulted you by saying that whenever you write code, you write bugs, and I really meant when everyone writes code, they write bugs. And I thought this was a good way to emphasize it because I had written this function and I wrote the bug. So
the copy pasta is dangerous. Well, whoa. I see. You're also flipping the traversal order. You're going column first.
Yeah, we're sort of inconsistent in the class about whether we do things like line by line or column by column. It's probably something we want to clean up and figure out.
Okay. Yeah, that's sort of like a performance optimization pass, because right now we have just a single buffer and then we index in it with some pointer math. Well, for what passes for pointer math, index math, I guess.
Yeah. For this particular function, it's observable to the client because we'll call the callback in a different order
Oh,
Anyway, it's just something we might want to think about as we look through the
I
class.
see. And then you added a test where you make a rectangular world state, and you check width and height, good. And then it has nothing alive, and then you set it all alive, and then you count, good. That makes sense. And then for each, you go through and you check that they're each alive, and you add them up yourself.
Yeah, so this is actually an interesting part of the bug because we were using these functions that if you queried outside the bounds would return not alive or dead or whatever it was. Then the first time I wrote the test, I couldn't get it to fail before my patch because it was calling me back with all these very sensible values. They were just not respecting what was actually stored in the world.
So you're really sort of sanity checking both that count alive. You're re-implementing a separate. You're re-implementing count alive, which we talked about last time, which was important sometimes in pure tests to implement something in a different way.
Yeah, sort of a cross-check that count alive and this iteration both give the same answer for the number of alive things.
Okay, I wish for an LGTM button.
I believe it's big and green somewhere.
Big and green. I love. There's this sort of cultural thing that has occurred inside Flutter, or maybe it's in the wider GitHub community, but I first experienced it in Flutter. And this may have come from you, I don't know. But people started using like LGTM images.
That was not my contribution. That was Ian Hickson was first on that boat. But I jumped on it really hard because I thought it was awesome.
I agree. I am always very amused when I see an LGTM image at the end of a pull request. But I do not have my account set up with any LGTM images because I have not written code for Flutter in a long time.
Well, maybe we need a Rubber Duck Engineering branded LGTM.
Oh.
I'll just toss that out there and see if anybody is interested in creating such a thing.
You know, back in my startup days, which is a long time ago, one of the things you do in a startup is you do everything. And that includes getting a copy of Photoshop, learning how to use it so you can make your darn logo. These days, I suspect. Go ahead.
Well, I feel like you made some very nice like brand imaging for Rubber Duck Engineering for the banners. I was really impressed when I saw that. I was like, whoa, Eric, this looks professional.
Why, thank you. Okay. Pull request merged successfully on the numero dos. I'm sure that's totally not even Spanglish. This patch lets us serialize and deserialize world state to and from a string. This functionality will make it easier to test and debug the logic surrounding world state. Okay, great. And you did 100% live coverage. We actually talked about setting up coverage because I think Nash asked in the chat last week. Oh. We missed a comment from maybe Hal9000 pointing out if I were to type my password, whatever. You can watch an old episode where we talk about the dangers of typing your password on stream. In any case, I did not type my password. I just opened a different profile.
So this is a trick that I learned. I forget what project I learned it on, but I learned that it's very powerful to have string representations of your model objects, like even just for testing. Because if you look at the test that we wrote last episode, we wrote many, many lines of code to like poke the model to set it up exactly the way we wanted. Yep. And then we wrote another bunch of lines of code to like expect the model to be exactly what we wanted.
Yep. Whereas
here the idea is if you can just specify the model you want in a string, and then you can also check that you got the thing you expected also by specifying a string.
Yep. All right, so let's jump to the test because I think those are probably the most informative. Like we can see it in action, the code you have, right? Or would you direct me through a different?
Oh, I think starting reviewing code by looking at the test is totally a good way of doing it, and I do that about half the time.
I just sometimes for complicated PRs, I have seen people like say, okay, you should look at it in this order kind of thing, or they sit with you literally on chat.
Yeah, I think this is a good way of trying to see what it is I was trying to accomplish.
So toString empty world, okay, check count alive, yeah, toString empty. Okay. It's a little odd to sort of use the toString itself for this serialization. Like, it might make sense to have a separate pathway since toString is sort of special in Dart, I think.
So like have a pickle and unpickle, or you just use a different term.
Yeah, I just think that you may find yourself wanting to change the toString representation, which is sort of like, I'm debugging this, I want to see it in a tree, versus the pickle unpickle. or serialized, deserialized, whatever it would be called.
Yeah, I think that's a really good point.
Reconstructed from, okay, this is good. The round trip test. And then it comes back the same. 2-string empty 0 by 5.
Yeah, so in poking around, I found something interesting about our state, which is we distinguish different 0 size worlds. So like in principle, a 0 by 0 world and a 0 by 5 world, they're kind of similar, right? In the sense that they don't contain any cells. They can't have any like life forms growing in them. But because we record the width and the height, we actually represent them slightly differently, which may or may not be a good idea. It's just something I sort of bumped into writing this CL, and so I thought I should write tests around it.
Yeah. I think you do need to, we talked about this a little bit last time, is like, what is the logic behavior on, you do need to specify like the bounds, because then the question is, what do you do at the bounds? We talked about like, should the life form reflect, or should it wrap, or I guess we'll get to some of that later in this episode. Okay, reconstructed, just make sure that it came through. This is, yeah. It's like almost common enough that I might even think about adding like a helper function for your test here. Right? That you just like have a check round trip or some, expect round trips okay kind of thing. Because you do that, right? Oh, interesting.
This one's yeah, so
okay.
The string representation I picked was basically translating lines in the world to lines in the string. So above, when you had height 5, that means there were 5 lines. Each line is empty. Here, when it's the other way around, when you have 5 columns and no height, then you have no lines. And so there's nowhere to remember the number of columns.
So your representation is intentionally lossy.
I wouldn't say it's intentionally lossy, but in writing the tests and thinking it through, I discovered that it was lossy in this way. And I kind of wonder if this is pointing to some sort of flaw in our model, that maybe we should collapse all the 0 size worlds into one canonical empty world that's a 0 by 0 world. Anyway, I didn't do that. I just documented the test, and I left this comment in here to basically, I mean, I guess I could have elaborated more in the comment about what I was thinking.
No, I mean, the test is written and makes total sense. I think if you and I were pair programming this live, I would probably argue with you a little bit here that my suspicion is that we probably, again, should be pickling separately from the 2-string, and then should probably be a little bit more verbose. There's like 3 separate operations that we might be wanting to do here. One of which is like 2-string. One of which is sort of a serialized, deserialized for like network transport or something like that. And the third is like fixtures, which is kind of what you're doing here. It's like you want a nice, concise representation for dealing with in tests. And I think in a simple project like this, they might all be the same, which is what you've done here, although dominated by the fixture one. But you could imagine having 3 separate representations.
Yeah, I completely agree.
Again, depending on how complicated this gets. Okay, so sorry, the selecting the code is an old habit. 2-string, world state, 4 by 5, count alive 0, yeah, because everything starts dead. Set at 1, okay, we're setting an alive pattern, and we've done 5 of those, so we should have 5. Yeah. I wonder if we have a test where you set something alive twice.
Oh, I think we did that actually, because remember we added a comment that we did that intentionally so we wouldn't accidentally delete the test later.
Yeah. And then you want to see that it came out as that pattern. Okay.
Yeah, so what I was thinking here is I was trying to pick a pattern that wasn't symmetric on the diagonal to make sure that I had all the like lefts and rights and ups and downs sorted out properly.
So the other thing that, to sort of expand on my previous thought about how there's sort of at least 3 representations that we're sort of smooshing together here, this reminds me of, we talked about the bridge programming that you and I have done before. Bridge has various ways to like represent one of which is called, well, anyways, it has various ways to represent it, and we ended up writing different parsers for different representations. When you write this, it reminds me of our work on HTML5, where there was like a canonical test suite, but like you might have a different representation for like internally. And this is exactly this. Like this format that you picked, I would hope that it like might match how Wikipedia has expressed their test cases, which presumably are represented as images and not as text. But like that would kind of be ideal, right?
Oh, that's a good point. I didn't research whether there was sort of a standard textual representation for Conway boards. There might well be.
So I think another thing for our viewers is that it probably would be better practice for me to be leaving these comments in the review. And maybe I should even go back and do that now. But probably for the sake of conciseness, I won't. You can do live reviews like this, but it just helps everybody in the community get to see and like the archaeology of how did a review get like that. Okay, from empty, I did not check this for subtle bugs. I mean, it's a little awkward to use, but again, it's better than what we were doing. It's a little awkward to use mostly because of like you have to have this leading, well, you don't have to probably have this leading. Do you strip white space?
No, this is actually a property of Dart, of this type of string in Dart, where if there's if the first thing after the triple quotes is a new line, then it doesn't get included in the string.
Oh. Today I learned. How have I written that much Dart and didn't know that? From string empty, yeah. I think you actually already tested this above, but it's fine to test it separately too. From string. Oh, I see. You like because we didn't round trip this world, for example. This is sort of round tripping it later. You've sort of split your round trip into two tests.
Yeah, what happened is I wrote these earlier, and then I realized, oh, I should be writing round trip tests, and so I wrote the other ones differently.
From string invalid. Yep, makes total sense. Love it. Okay, let's see how the sausage is made here. Pickle is empty. Yep. Surprised you need this as a special case. What happens?
I do because I don't want it to be an error. In all other cases, I want each of the lines to be new line terminated. This is back to the like, how do you represent the 0 by x and x by 0 situation? Like I think a reasonable representation for the empty world might be a new line, like a string that's entirely a new line. But that would then be a 0 by 1 world as opposed to a 0 by 0 world.
Yeah. I mean, we also could, like, you could use punctuation, right? You could use brackets.
Yeah, you could just have a sentinel that's like empty as the empty world or something.
Well, or if you used sort of like how we use semicolons in some languages, like if you use brackets to start and end the world, you could imagine also have a single line format. I don't know if that's easier to read. We could go off in all sorts of crazy directions here. Okay. Last line is not empty. Each line in the pattern must be turned into a new line. Okay. Height line. Okay. Okay. So you'll get an index error, and you probably catch that, right? You don't catch it and turn it into an argument error, but you will get an index error if one of the lines is of different length, right?
So I checked that on line 39.
Oh, that's
just above your cursor. Yeah, I wanted it specifically to be argument error as opposed to an index error.
Okay. There's always a question when doing switches is if they would be better as a map, or more concise as a map. But this makes sense. Okay, let's see what else you got. Is that it? No. That was the read. This is the write. Okay. See, my brain always does X first and then Y, just because of alphabet order. But
Yeah, but in this case, I wanted the lines in the
Oh,
string to correspond to the horizontal direction in the.
yes.
This is what actually got me thinking about the iteration order.
Yeah. No, it makes total sense. Okay. So my instinct here in the conciseness of time is to mostly just sort of accept and move on. That wouldn't be what we would do if we were working on a large scale project. What are your thoughts here? I'm happy to do like a more detailed write-up or.
Yeah, I think it's fine. I think it was really good to discuss it on stream. I think, if you're okay with just accepting it and moving on, I think that's good.
Yeah.
Like, I think if we
It
were
clearly
really,
moves us into the future.
yeah, I think
Sorry.
if we were collaborating on this outside of a sort of web show kind of scenario, then like you gave a lot of good feedback, and I would want to iterate on it again. But I think we could just go forward.
Okay. Or maybe I hit that review button. I feel like GitHub has changed significantly since I used it. For day-to-day coding. Okay. So, shall we go and fix our bugs?
So yes, now I had another part to this dream.
Yes.
That's why I got started on this path. So
Tell me your dream.
So last episode we saw on Wikipedia they had a bunch of example worlds that I thought would be good test cases. And then I was looking at the test we wrote for the box, and it seemed awkward to poke the model in such a verbose way to set it up. And so I was thinking that's why I thought maybe if we add the string representation, we could more easily take all those examples from Wikipedia and make them tests.
Okay, makes total sense to me. Let me pull the rebase is out of habit. We don't need it here. And then if I tidy up our display here a little bit, we should see that we have your tests here. Yep, there they are. And so your suggestion is we would just use this to add more, or did you want to go back and edit the box example?
Let's just try and add the next one and sort of see. I sort of had a dream that we would have a function that was like this string, like I expect it to evolve to this string, and that would be like the concise version of the test.
I seem to recall that our test didn't pass. Did you fix our passing test? Our test to pass?
No. I had to comment out the failing tests in order to make sure my tests actually passed.
Well, it was nice of you to leave something, for us, for the viewers.
So that's another direction we could go is we could try to debug this. So the way I recommend debugging this is to print out the what we get after applying the next function to see what it looks like. Because in the box example, we expect it to be a box, and I imagine it's not going to be a box.
Well, I think we're still an NPE. Like this is probably simpler than like we did it wrong.
Okay, sure. Let's start here.
But yeah, my biases are towards always just get the test working, so that we have like a basis to work from.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so this is Conway test line.
Oh, for sure. I in writing my patch, I did this purposely because I thought we would want to do this on the show. I didn't want to jump that gun.
So count alive. Okay, so new world next is just returning null.
Oh, maybe we forgot to return statement.
Well, that would be.
Okay.
Yep.
Oh, we totally just returned null. All right. Well, great.
But I appreciate you leaving the easy ones for the show.
I purposely didn't look at it at all because I thought it would be more entertaining to explore it all live on the internet.
Live on the internet. Saving Conway Dart. Running Dart formatter. What you doing, Dart formatter? Let's see if we can run it while the Dart formatter goes to get its coffee. Conway test. There we go. Look at that.
Oh, maybe the next function was totally correct, and that was the only problem.
Of course it was totally correct. We wrote it live on the internet.
I think we should try a few more test cases.
Great. So we were looking at our Wikipedia Conway's Game of Life. This is where we got the big machine. Okay. Here we go. This is where we got it. So, thoughts you'd like next?
I think we either do beehive or blinker. I don't know, whichever one you.
I want to do some changing. So let's do blinker. I think we could make it period 2. I see. We could make it 3 by 3. I don't think we need to make it 5 by 5. So let's see if we can write a fancy test. Where's our block? Blinker blinks. I feel like I'm writing a toddler novel here, or a Dr. Seuss novel.
See, blinker blink.
Okay, we have to learn. I have to learn how to use your fancy system.
Oh, so it's basically dots are dead, X's are alive.
Okay, I just want an example of from string. There we go. You know, the copy pasta is real.
Oh, that's another benefit of this sort of testing style is you end up with examples of all your stuff.
Okay, fine. Like we could go even. No, we don't need to. We can be nice and small.
Oh, I think we should match Wikipedia. We should just make
Okay,
it. Otherwise, we're being too smart.
I think we're too smart. Okay. Okay. So, and now we should be able to do expect world. So we can do world is equal to next world, and we can do expect world to string. How am I doing?
Yeah, this is great.
Equal to not exactly this, but we'll modify it here in just a second. Oh my goodness, all the keys. Okay, so this is not what we want. We want X. Oh, this is so much easier. I'm so glad you pre-baked this patch here.
All right, should we try it?
Let's do it. So I think I want to change the test a little bit. I think I want to change the test to pull these strings out.
Yeah, I think if we're going to do several of these, we might want to factor all that logic, so we just put in the 2 strings. Oh, it worked.
Well, it passes.
Great. I think we should keep writing test cases until they stop passing, or maybe they'll just always pass.
I mean, Conway's Game of Life is not it's not the longest algorithm at 3 lines, right? So, okay, should we do something crazier?
Yeah, I think we just keep doing it. Like Toad and Beacon and.
Let's do Toad. It's a GIF. I should not be surprised. Oh, this looks hard. Okay.
Do you want to try to type it? I can try to type it.
Beacon looks easier to type.
Okay, I can pull them both up on my screen if that's easier.
Oh, you're right. We do have the technology. We could do that, right?
Yeah.
Whoops. Sorry, I have to press longer. Okay. Is that better?
Yeah, that's great.
I have to figure out how to scroll horizontally down here. There we go. It's a blink tag all over. Okay. So we want beacon. What does a beacon do? Does it beckon?
Oh, yeah.
I don't know. I just feel like rhyming tonight. Okay, we need to be 6 across. 4 dots. Stop dots. Okay. Human mind.
Well, it looks like just these. The easiest thing might just be these squares. Look at the squares here.
Let's do it. Let's do it. You got it, Mr. Purple Cursor.
And,
Okay.
I guess the middle square is missing in this state.
Yeah. Yeah, we could write so much fancier like testing functions here. Okay, run on the tests. Whoa.
Some tests failed.
Some tests fails. Beacon beckons. I don't know if that makes any sense, but whoa.
Yeah. This is also why I wanted to do toString, because I thought we could see
Yeah, you can totally see.
what happened a little bit. It's not perfectly formatted, but
That's pretty close. Anyways, that's great. And I wonder why it's doing that. So what is it doing? It's making
instead of having
things
the
are
little
not
dots,
dying correctly.
yeah, instead of the dots going away, we got more dots.
Okay, let's go look. Conway. Okay, I'm going to close this. Just to save our eyeballs. Okay. So if alive neighbors are 2, are greater than or equal to 2, and what is our, so like this one, it has more than 2 alive neighbors.
It has 4 alive neighbors, right?
Yeah?
Mm-hmm.
Why is it supposed to die?
So if you go look at your logic here, so the comment says any cell with 2 or 3 alive neighbors survives.
Oh. Okay.
So the like story explanation for this is if there's too many around, then it's overpopulation in the cell.
Were you aware of that bug while we were typing it last weekend?
Yes. I was. But I thought we were doing a whole testing thing. We should find it from tests.
I see. Okay,
And,
so.
dude, hold on.
I just want to run the test. No, go ahead.
Oh, yeah, okay. You go for it. I was just going to say on line 141 is a similar misreading of the...
On any dead cell with 3 alive neighbors. Oh, I feel like we should find that with our test separately.
Okay, let's do it.
Just because now I've lost total confidence in my reading of the Conway game of life. Maybe this will just show it. Okay.
It's different.
It is different, and presumably this is going to show us exactly.
It actually is more correct, right? Because the cell that was supposed to die actually did die.
Mm-hmm.
But now the problem is there was a cell that was dead that's become alive that wasn't supposed to become alive.
Okay, so let's go back to our reading here. Any dead cell with 3 live neighbors becomes a live cell. Well, yeah, so this is exactly that bug that we're hitting. Because if we look back at what it was, well, neither of these is what it started as, right? But they started at these 2 blocks, right?
Mm-hmm.
So this one had, many live neighbors, and it should have stayed dead because it should be exactly 3. I think we may need to test this more precisely than this.
Success.
That we passed, but it doesn't necessarily fill me with confidence.
Do you just want to write a precise test for this issue?
I think that would fill me with more confidence.
I think we just get more confidence just by doing more of the examples.
Fine too. Now I have to set up our fancy setup again, or just live with it. Another thing.
Whoa! What was that fourth one? That fourth one looked crazy.
This one, the pulsar. It has a 3 period, which would require us to modify our tests. So I do worry a little bit that we did promise some pixels on the screen, and we're more than halfway through our time.
Okay, let's text switch to putting pixels on the screen.
I think if we put some pixels on the screen, we may see them all go dramatically wrong, and then we will know that we have to go fix our algorithm. But
okay, I think that's a great idea.
Okay, so let us, as you said, text switch to pixels on the screen, so we can go back to our main.
Do you want to make an intermediate commit here? Because it feels like we're changing to a new topic.
Yes.
We can rewrite the commit message offline, but just to capture it.
That's fine. We can also write it really quickly. Commit fix our reading of Conway and add, what is it? Beacon, blinker, and beacon test cases. Okay.
Excellent.
So we were doing just raw Dart before, and now we're going to do some Flutter, which allows us to write to a screen. So we can run this. If I just press the run button, it'll go. But while it starts to do that, we can also start editing away at our fancy function. So this is going to end up similar, I think, to what we did in our last project, where we're going to end up needing a custom painter to paint our Conway game.
Yeah.
Do you have thoughts as to where we should start?
We could just start with that to be able to show one of these models. I kind of also want to do the thing where you can click on it to toggle the state.
Totally.
But okay.
I guess we have a decision point here. Is that should we try and use the widget layer and like use a grid or something like that, and try and, or should we just paint everything custom ourselves?
I think we should just paint everything custom ourselves because I want to scale up to really big worlds. And I feel like if we have thousands of widgets, it might be too many.
Okay, I support this approach. I'm going to start deleting some comments here. Do you want to just type custom painter from scratch ourselves? Sure. Or do we need to copy what we started from, or copy our last project?
I could just type it ourselves. Let's see.
The first step is to, well, let's see if this got running. It is not yet running. We had some errors. Class declaration must have a body, even if empty. Oh. Once you reach a stable point, we may want to verify that this actually gets to the running phase.
Oh, okay, sorry. This should be buildable.
As it comes to the inner tubes. Conway game and Conway world?
Oh, I guess I didn't make a Conway world today.
Widget create element is missing.
Great. Sure, it's a widget.
Yeah, widget is too low level. Okay, so I see we're still building the macOS application, I think.
Just start typing a custom painter, right?
Yeah, let's do it. It'll eventually come up and it'll yell at us, but Xcode is just still ticking away in the background. Conway painter? No.
Can you use the light bulb to, oh, the intertubes are coming.
Gotta do the intertube dance.
Do you have that fancy light bulb to fill in the function signatures? Yeah, create 2 missing overrides. That'd be really helpful to me.
Whoa!
Oh, yeah.
Oh, such light bulb.
Oh, so we should probably import our Conway.
Yep. On the top.
And this thing is going to need a world state.
Where? Okay. Yep. I love that we're going to have it completely typed up. Oh, it's running. I can bring it up. If you hold your horses for a second.
I will hold the horses.
Conway, come to us, Conway. Okay, we have pushed this button this many times. So this is our running application, which we will then hot reload into beautiful Conwayness.
Do you want to do your fancy split screen thing so we can hot reload and type?
Oh, whoa! I wish I'm sure someone. So long ago, I worked at Apple. And during that time, I felt like I really knew how to use a Mac. It's not that I don't know how to use a Mac now. I miss that same level of knowing all the power tricks. So I don't know how to switch from two things that are full screen to having split full screen. But maybe one of our intrepid viewers does.
I'm just sort of writing out this paint function here.
Okay, so what are we doing here? We are creating our widget to display on screen. That's this Conway game. And you're going to turn this into a custom painter instead of text hello. You were just trying to make it compile. And right now you're writing that custom painter.
Yes. I sort of thought I would walk through the world, call get at each point, and then draw an appropriately sized rectangle.
So is the behavior of this, yeah, it's going to split. So this is going to skew, right? If you have a rectangular window, we will have rectangle squares to your Conway.
Yeah, so we could solve that at the widget layer using the aspect ratio widget to always give it a square aspect ratio if we want to.
Yep.
So that
you could also solve it, yeah. We don't have infinite boards. Well, we may move to that.
At xy equals, so let's say that alive. Canvas, all rect. Direct, right? What are my choices on a rect here?
Are you pulling the paint out just because you don't need to remake it every time?
Yeah, I'm just going to always do it with black paint. Let's see, from X, Y, with height. Is that a valid constructor?
I think it's width, height. It's like, we can go look. It's like top left width, height, I think.
Oh, okay, that sounds right. So top left is going to be X.
LT RB or LT left top width height. LT, I'll fix it.
Okay.
LT. So it's in the order you would expect, X then Y.
So like all the X's, then all the Y's.
X, Y, and then width, and then height. Right, so left, top, width, and height.
Makes sense.
You may have even written this.
I'm sure I did, but I totally do not remember why we write documentation so we can remember. I think that's it for drawing the world. There's like a fancier way of doing this where if you have a lot of like alive cells in a row, you could notice that and draw it as one rect, but you know.
Yeah, at this scale, I don't think. Okay, so we need to implement should root paint, which presumably
we just do with the world comparison.
Which we did not implement comparison for the world.
Well, because our next function gives you a new world object, we could just use object identity.
This will happen to work, yes. Or I guess we're assuming that worlds are not immutable, but so I think this is a reasonable thing for this function to do, even though the outside world it just happens to work at this moment.
That's where to comment. Really should.
Good idea. I can make this. I need to remember how to turn on the 80 column guide or something. Whatever, that can be my homework for this week.
Okay, so
okay, and now we have to actually call into our painter from here.
Make that a custom painter equals
custom paint's the widget, and custom painter we implemented, yeah, the Conway painter. Yep.
Now, if you just use our from string technology and jam it somewhere in our
Oh, in the world?
in the yeah.
We don't ever build this thing with a world. It needs a constructor.
Oh, okay.
Is key a required parameter? I guess so.
No, it's not, but
Just good habits.
yeah,
Okay.
it's a best practice to take a key.
Okay, so we can remove our counter stuff. And I had started removing comments I didn't quite get through. I wonder if there's some helper thing to like remove a subtree. But I want to get to here. And then I want Conway world, right? No, it was Conway game, I think you called it.
Oh, do you want to call it Conway World?
I don't care. I'm just trying to remember the parameters because you did the typing and I didn't fully lock it in my brain.
Yes, I think I called it Conway.
Conway game.
Conway game.
And then world is like world state, which I think their name from string. Okay, and now we want to be, let's say there are dot x. Is x alive or dead?
X is alive.
So there's a box. There's a 2x4 box. So we can give it a little more.
Yep. I'm gonna make it asymmetrical just for to see that we didn't flip everything around.
Go for it. Okay, and then we can remove our floating action button.
Get rid of this white space, unfortunately. You put inside an aspect ratio to make sure it's square.
I think we should like just try it, see how terrible it looks. We're doing a lot of this like compiling in our head, and our viewers may not also be compiling it in their head.
Sure.
Okay. Let's see. Expected assignment after the field name. Is this not how you call super? I think you mean super?
Oh, super.
I had this trouble before.
I totally forget what programming language I'm writing in all the time. I just
Here we go.
write syntax that maybe will work.
All right, so I don't see it working yet. Should it be? I did a hot restart.
I wonder if the center is messing us up. If it's like letting it shrink down to 0 size.
We could use the inspector to see that. Does the body have special behavior? I feel like we started out. I have old tapes there.
I don't remember.
I don't remember either. Okay. Let's to the inspector. This is actually the inspector that I wanted. I wanted the fancy DevTools one, but this one might work. Okay. I see we haven't implemented the what is this thing? Well, center's not going to tell us. This might. Render object. Current data.
Offset.
Can use size. Size 0, 0. Okay, so you're right. So we may need an expand.
I think we should try to just take away the center. Because we don't really want to center it. We just want it to fill up all the space.
Let's try it. Let's see. There's an extra. Also want to add back a comma here. Okay. And I don't feel like that was the right way for us to debug this, but it worked. So I guess we'll try it again. Okay. Conway game, render object, size 0, 0.
Mm.
What do we turn these on? What happens if we wrap this sucker in and expanded? I feel like... Is it called expanded?
I think you want sized box. Expanded goes with the flex layouts.
We solved this problem in our last, didn't we?
Yes. In that world, we had a column because we had the controls at the bottom. Maybe we want to go back to that and have a column again because we're going to want to have like controls somewhere to like. You know,
all right. So say we wrap it in a column.
And now if we set it to be expanded.
Okay. Let's see. I saved, so it should have updated. Let's see what this thing thinks. My poor little machine's having trouble keeping up with all this. I think our inspector is sad.
We can also just give it a defined size if we want to start there. Just like say that it's 100 by 100 pixels or something.
Let's see. Conway game. Okay. Now we're 0 wide. Aha, we had this problem in the other one. It's like cross.
Oh yeah, cross-task alignment, like fill or something.
I don't remember the. This is where I feel like we should just look at our other code. That's what I always do. Is I just look at the last time I solved the problem. We do con sound. Okay. So we look at lib main. We search for column. Cross-axis alignment.
Stretch, yeah, there we go.
Oh, cross-axis alignment. Oh, it's not completing for me. Now it is. Analyzers are slow.
Oh! It was even the right shape.
Okay.
That's kind of cool.
Yeah. I think these could have borders or like aren't these supposed to be like individual life forms? Or do they want to blur together like this?
Yeah, it depends what you want to optimize for. I think we should optimize for having lots and lots of cells because that's when like cool things are happening.
Okay. All right. So I think we can. Where should we go next?
I think we should have a next button that we can click to get to the next state.
Whoa.
We may want to. So we called the function next, which now might be an opportune moment to rename it to something.
All right. Well, I think just like we did before, we could do another commit.
Yeah, I think we totally reached a state that is worthy of commit.
Okay. Add ability to display a basic world in Flutter. At all? Like, I feel like we waved our magic wand and like so much happened, but it's just because Flutter did it all.
We mostly flailed around trying to get it to not be 0 size.
Yes, that was what the last 20 minutes were. Okay, I'm going with it. I've done it. Okay, so yeah, so either we like we could do a floating action button. That's very easy. Should it tick it, or should it just like pause, start it, and stop it? And then at what rate?
Let's start with tick just for simplicity. But yeah, I think a floating action button is totally the way to go.
We're also, I think, kind of towards the end of what we're going to get accomplished this week.
Mhm.
Floating action button. Floating action button. This is where I should just crib from the
But you want
template.
a cool icon, like icon. I don't know what icons they have, but
If I look at this, I just want to like my world of programming is the copy pasta. Copy paste and thinking. That is a lot of programming for me. Okay, we have restored our program on pressed. We want to do
I'll research cool icons while you make it actually work.
be like a bug. Increment world. So tap next. Probably do that. I'm going to implement increment world up here. So, okay, we need to do a couple things. Want
Man, there's so many icons.
this needs to hold the world state. I'm probably not talking enough as I tell you what I'm doing here. All right. World state, world, set state. World is equal to next world. And I want, how do I add, where's my little, it fills out my init state for me. Yeah, do it. No. I don't know how to add the, I do this at all right?
Yeah, it looks pretty good. I think the init state needs oh yeah, that looks good. Let's call super.
Oh yeah, that makes sense. We had a discussion last time about whether you call super first or last. Generally, you want to initialize your superclass. At least in C, you want to initialize your C++. You want to initialize your superclass before you initialize yourself. Okay.
That's great.
Go ahead.
This is gonna work. Should we try it?
Whoa! I love the icon. Let's reload because I think we have a null state because it's now.
Yeah, we're going to do a hot restart because we changed the state initialization.
Well, I just did one. It didn't seem to take. There we go. Okay. I don't think it worked. Oh, it did.
Oh, but now you're in block, which we know is a stable. We should take one of the test cases, like the beacon or something, that we can see it go back and forth.
Yeah, I mean, I think we can just do beacon from memory here. Oh, you're right. I could have actually just gone and gotten it in the time that I could write it, but. Okay. We got the beacon. Now we got to restart. I didn't quite understand why this seemed like it was hanging. Okay. I see we have a little hairline. So
yeah, we can actually fix that if we wanted to.
That's fine. That's a next week kind of thing. Whoa.
Oh, it's alive.
It works.
These cellular automata is alive.
That's cool. I think next for me is, as you were saying, like I want to be able to I want to be able to click on it.
Mhm.
I'm going to change these. That's probably actually like 2 minutes of work, but given that we're over time, I think maybe we should save that for next week.
Yeah, I think we make it interactive next time. I think it'd be really good.
Yeah.
Then we're gonna need a play button, so it'll like keep going and going and going.
Yeah. We could scrub it like we, well, I don't know if that makes any sense.
And we could take its Fourier transform. It could be amazing.
Right visualizers. Okay. So before we close up shop, Dr. Barth, did you have final thoughts?
Not particularly. I'm like really glad that we got to this point.
Yeah. I want to add maybe a little splash of color or something next week too. So I like the black and white, and maybe play with some bigger worlds. I think our test case serialization has gotten us, like, this is some significant tech up that we did, but we may need to go even a little further or generate like a random world or something.
Oh, that'd be really interesting. Like, what does a random world do if you run it? Yeah, I think if we add some UI controls to like specify the size of the world and something like that, we could do lots of cool stuff.
Yeah, do all sorts of stuff. Anyways, this was a lot of fun as always.
Yeah, thank you, Eric. This was great.
It was good to see you. See you next week.
See you next week.